Good evening and welcome to Cryptic Corner, a dark little part of the Hive where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee, here bringing you to the spookier side of the internet. Today's topic's not so spooky as it could be. A continuation of the feline topic and the supernatural cats. We are going to be looking at a follow-up from the British Isles, which we also had last week. Let's follow up from Scotland. So two Scottish cats in a row is what we're dealing with here. Last week, if you missed it, we talked about Big Ears, the demon cat of the Tay Harem, the ritual where you summon the demon cat to grant you wishes or superpowers or what have you, and you roast the cats alive. It was pretty awful, and we looked at a story of someone who allegedly ran into one of these demonic cats in the bombing of London. So fun stuff, interesting stuff. Nonetheless, I hope that you enjoy these little segments. Sometimes it takes a little turn from the beaten path of what we normally want to cover on here, but it is what it is, and we have a fun time absorbing it. Sasquatch Secrets is in the house. Hey, Nikki. Good to see ya. Vandalia's up in here. Good to see you, too. People popping in as we move into Cryptic Corner. That's great. This is, I think this is a fan favorite of the segment of the show. Hopefully I inspire my friends to do fun little segments like this, but today we're going to be talking about maybe we're going to give you a little bit of Brie origin story first, okay? So, I used to be really into fairy lore, and exploring fairy lore of different areas of the UK and whatnot. I was into the Celtic witchcraft scene and Wicca and all that, which is they like to lean heavily on Celtic imagery and fairy lore and stuff, so I knew a lot about Kate Shee and Q Shee, the fairy dogs and fairy cats, and all these other entities and creatures that exist in the land of in between, underneath the mountains and all that. Good stuff, fun times. Spent a lot of time reading about it and stuff. But there's one. I just mentioned the Kate Shee that maybe more than just fairy tale, maybe more than just an urban legend, maybe more than just a mystery, because the Kate Shee may just be a Kellis cat, or rabbit head cat as it's sometimes called, the fairy cat or demon cat, a clouder of former feline curiosities. Okay, this is Carl Schucker's blog. He's a cryptozoologist, and he likes to explore big cats quite a bit. So he's got a few different little segments on it. He's a little more, I shouldn't say segments. He's got a few different little blog pieces on it, but he's more critical than a lot of cryptozoologists to be sure. I don't think he just follows a lot of nonsense. I actually corresponded with him about a video showing a black cougar, and he actually set me right on the right path about it, saying, hey, no, this is from, what is it, the ghost of something mountain, maybe of something swamp, maybe. It's the Black Mountain Line, but they painted it black for the movie, so it was like fake, because Black Mountain Lines don't exist. Didn't know if you knew that or not, but that's the that's a point I'm going to drop. Mountain lions do not come in a melanistic form. If you see a black big cat, it's generally a leopard or a jaguar, right? Both of those big cats come in black, but the cougar does not, lions and tigers do not, and most other jungle cats do not either. However, there are several species of small cats that can become melanistic, and one of those is the domestic cat. But I digress. Let's dive right into this. I'm going to read a bit of this blog here. One would surely imagine that a mystery cat ceases to be a mystery once at least one specimen is finally obtained and submitted to science for a detailed examination. Remarkably, however, at the time of publication of my very first book on such felids, Mystery Cats of the World, way back in 1989 when I was 6 years old. I don't know how old you guys were, but I was only 6 in 1989. This was not the case with the Kellis cat from northern Scotland, UK. 4 years after its official discovery, and despite being represented by a series of preserved specimens, this enigmatic, then controversial felid form was... Is this supposed to be feliform? Come on now. Carl. Feliform, not felid form. Feliform was still awaiting a conclusive scientific identification. Happily, however, not long after my book's publication, the identification was duly made, but was found not to be one of any taxonomic significance, i.e., the Kellis cat was shown to be neither a new species in its own right, nor even a new subspecies of an already known species, as now briefly recalled. I have already dealt with this subject very comprehensively in my 1990s paper reviewing this feliform. Carl, come on. I thought it was a typo at first, but you can't seriously think it's felid form. Now, come on. You're supposed to be a zoologist, a cryptozoologist, but, you know, I'm a cryptozoologist, and I say it's feliform, not felid form. But you feel free to correct me. Maybe there's a British way of saying it that I don't know, but anyway. History in presenting my own bibliographical reference or researches regarding it that was published by the International Society of Cryptozoology's peer-reviewed scientific journal, Cryptozoology, which should be consulted for further details. They want you to consult the journal, the Cryptozoology journal. The history of the Kellis cat began publicly on the 19th of September in 1984, when a local Moray newspaper, the Forest Gazette, devoted an entire front page to a detailed world-exclusive report written by its editor, David Morgan. Its subject was the hitherto little publicized capture within the Scottish Highlands 3 months earlier of a large and most striking cat, which did not readily recall any felid then known to science. Mystery big cat could shake the world, read the eye-catching headlines. Does West Moray shelter a species unknown to man? The photograph immediately beneath the imposing line was no less startling either, and certainly lent them its full support, for it depicted a quite extraordinary cat. Its pelage was dark and bristly, predominantly black in color, but flecked all over with very long, gleaming white primary guard hairs. Its broad head tapered in a narrow muzzle, with jaws that contain spectacularly prominent upper and lower canines. The upper pair actually projected from the mouth even when the jaws were closed. A second photograph showed the specimen laid down upon its right flank. We'll look at these pictures in a second, by the way. Right flank beside a measuring ruler whose scales revealed that the total length of the cat was approximately 3.5 feet, which is absolutely massive for a cat. That's wild cats don't even really get that big. 3.5 feet, come on now. The photograph also depicted the noticeable gracility of the cat, possessing a slender body and seemingly lengthy limbs. An adult male, it had been trapped in a fox snare in June of 1984 within the grounds of Revac Lodge. The lodge gamekeeper, Ronald Douglas, had subsequently discovered the dead body and brought it back to the lodge, whereupon, as a result of its very noteworthy appearance, Highland Wildlife Park Director Edward R.J. Orbell and local veterinarian surgeon John Robertson were invited to view it. And some of the photographs were snapped by Orbell. Let's look at this cat real quick. Here's some pictures of it. I mean, to me, it looks like just a cat, but I can't speculate that it's because I wasn't there to examine it. I'm also not a veterinarian. The size sounds phenomenal, like not something that would be normal. I've heard reports of cats getting like super big in Australia, and we may have to talk about that at some point. But in Scotland, there is this distinct subspecies of wildcat, the Scottish wildcat, the Highland tiger, which is the largest subspecies of European wildcat in the world, and they're very rare. Like there's the idea is that there's not even any pure wildcats still left in the wild. So, you know, as far as this one goes, this is definitely not a puma. This is definitely a feliform of some kind, or a felis, something within the cat genus, the house cat genus. Maybe bigger, but yeah, this is a house cat, or this is a felis. Like it could be a wild cat, but or a what do they call it? The Norwegian forest cat. That's a breed that gets really big and black. It's big, I think as big as Maine Coon cats. Yeah. News of this singular find rapidly traveled throughout Great Britain, and recognizing its potential scientific worth, Douglas sent the specimen to a local taxidermist in Kirkmichael, Perthshire, for mounted preparation. At this point, however, it seemingly vanished because for many years afterwards, the whereabouts were a mystery. But its skin, minus the tail, was eventually rediscovered, as noted in 2008 by British paleontologist and cryptozoological writer Dr. Darren Naish in a Tetrapod Zoology blog article. I love Darren Naish. Darren Naish is the bee's knees when it comes to cryptozoology. Meanwhile, on October 3rd, 1984, the headlines of the Forest Gazette were once again dominated by news and accompanying photographs of a large, black, ferocious-looking cat. As I discovered when I examined the specimen, however, or myself, it was clearly of the same felid type as the Revac cat. That's that one we just looked at up there. That's this one. This is the Revac cat. A second adult male, complete with sparkling white guard hairs, plus two small white spots, one in the middle of its chest, and the other inguinal. I don't know what that means. Sizable canines and a gracile build. The head and body length was 26 inches, with a further 12 inches in constituting the tail length. So it's another 30 plus inch cat. So they're talking about a huge kitty cat, really big. Apparently had been one of a pair of such cats observed in January 1983 by local laird Thomas Christie near the River Lossy in the vicinity of the tiny village of Kellis in West Moray. He shot one and the other escaped unharmed. Christie had seen and shot other individuals of this cat form in the past and decided to have this latest example preserved as a permanent exhibit. Thus it was mounted for display purposes by a local taxidermist, placing it upon a robust pine branch in a somewhat menacing, snarling pose. Having read the Forest Gazette account of the Revac cat, Christie realized that his own specimen was evidently of a similar type, so he contacted editor David Morgan to inform him of its existence. Within a fortnight of the second specimen's media debut, the Revac cat had somehow vanished. Suddenly, Christie's exhibit was the sole preserved representative of this newly discovered felid form. Just gonna ignore it, Brie. Just ignore it. Known to be in existence. Needless to say, therefore, it's recently received considerable publicity, so much so, in fact, that the entire cat form that was represented began to be referred to as the Kellis cat. After this Kellis derived example, moreover, the name was both descriptive, alluding to the locality within this cat form's known distribution range, and specific, no other type of the cat referenced by this name. Consequently, when I instigated my own independent research relating to this felid, culminating in my own production of my aforementioned scientific paper, the first one to document and discuss zoologically its most likely zoological identity, I formally adopt the name Kellis cat for that new felid form within the latter work, a name that has since been widely used and acknowledged as its official English name. Here's the mounted specimen right here. The one that's preserved in actually the actual Kellis cat, the one mounted on the pine branch that the guy had shot by the river, and there were two of them and one of them escaped. Yeah, so there you go. It's got some weird looking ears. I guess that's why they call it a rabbit head cat. But continuing on. Now this is Thomas Christie specimen. When the Revac specimen first attracted public attention, it was assumed by some to be an immature individual of a black Pantherine-esque mystery cat reported from Exmoor, Scotland, and elsewhere in Great Britain. However, it soon became clear that it was representative of a completely separate, smaller felid type. Consequently, Christie's mounted specimen was examined at London's Natural History Museum, with the scientific world and the general public alike awaiting the outcome with interest. Although the most significant animal, the Kellis-derived example, was not ideally suited for the precise and painstaking purpose of taxonomy. For example, certain cranial bones were missing, including the nasal, crucial in cat classification. In addition, by being a mounted taxidermy specimen, its internal structure could not be readily studied. Fortunately, however, the museum was able to counter this later problem to a certain extent by employing X-ray analysis in order to obtain an indirect view of those components of its skeleton preserved within its mounted form. All right. In the late spring of 1985, a short report was issued by Daphne Hill, at the time the NHM's expert on small mammals, in which her opinion concerning Christie's Kellis cat was summarized, and I duly received copies of this report for several different people. It stated that although the possibility of the specimen being either a domestic cat, Scottish wildcat hybrid, or a feral domestic cat could not be totally ruled out, available evidence suggests that it's most probably a melanistic Scottish wildcat, and as such, the first one documented. This identity has also been put forward independently by certain other zoologists, including Dr. Frank Turk. That's not Dr. Frank Turek, though. Don't get those guys mixed up. Two different dudes. Yes. I hope you all are enjoying this kitty talk, because I like talking about mystery cats and stuff. Bree, you saw that article I posted about the Jags coming to Arizona. Yes, I'm so excited. Jaguars are so amazing, so beautiful. Megafauna that's been missing from our biome for far too long. I do like to see them coming back up into the up into North America. It's wonderful. My cat looks exactly like Salem and Binks animatronic, like from Hocus Pocus and Sabrina. Sweet. I like black cats. We used to have one named Thorn who was adorable and sweet. Since then, however, several additional dead and even some living specimens have been procured, some of which sported cryptic pelage, striping, and or brown vibrissae and eyebrows, with Kellis cat material having been subsequently examined both at the NHM and at what is now the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh. Moreover, as there were all unmounted specimens, their internal components could be examined directly rather than only indirectly. As with the Christie taxidermy exhibit, in every case, the specimen in question was concluded to be a domestic cat Scottish wildcat hybrid, with all but one of these specimens closer in form to its wildcat progenitor than to its domestic cat progenitor. In the case of the one exception, the reverse situation was apparent. Consequently, as its status is only that of a crossbreed, the Kellis cat is nowadays looked upon merely as a feline curiosity rather than a cat form of any precise taxonomic worth. Nevertheless, and as I predicted in my earlier mentioned cryptozoology paper, it would appear to be more than just a simple first generation hybrid, inasmuch as the Kellis cat's distinctive morphology is thought to be the outcome of several generations of interbreeding and backcrossing, introgressive hybridization. This process can yield progeny that are very different morphologically, not only from their hybrid parents, but also from their two original purebred progenitor species. Here's another Kellis cat found during 2002 in the Insitch, I guess you say that's Insitch, area of Aberdeenshire, now on display as a taxiderm specimen in the Zoological Museum, University of Aberdeen. Let's get a good look at that one. You see the white guard hair sticking through like it was talking about, and it's got this mark on its chest, right? This white mark. Does your cat have a white mark on its chest, Sumami? They give it really vibrant green eyes, though. They have a unique kind of look to them, don't they? Speaking of distinctive morphology, in 1988, an even more and normally distinctive Kellis-like cat was shot by a local gamekeeper in the Dufftown area of Speyside. Distinguishing this adult male example from previously publicized Kellis cat specimens was not only its alleged lack of white primary guard hairs and chest patches, but also, in particular, its oddly shaped head reminiscent of a rabbit, together with large ears, Roman-type nose, and notably small brain case. A second rabbit head cat was shot in December 1993 by gamekeeper Jimmy McVeigh after his dog had flushed it out of a pond in a locality near East Kilbride, where it had been swimming in pursuit of some wildfowl. The cat was an adult female but displayed much the same head shape, Roman nose, as the Dufftown cat. Moreover, it has been suggested that the Revac specimen of the Kellis cat from 1984 may have been yet another rabbit head cat, but unlike claims to the contrary for the Dufftown individuals, the Revac cat's pelage definitely sported the long white primary guard hairs. According to the online article on Kellis cats by veterinarian surgeon Andrew Bauer, click there to access that, the East Kilbride rabbit-headed cat's skull was later examined in Edinburgh as what was then still the Royal Museum of Scotland by felid expert Dr. Andrew Kitchener, who had previously examined Kellis cat material there. In his article, Bowers stated, Kitchener's findings suggest the rabbit-head cat skull exhibited no real anatomical difference between it and specimens of Scottish wildcats and domestic cats and their hybrids. In her own online account of Kellis cats, cat author Sarah Hartwell briefly commented that the Dufftown rabbit-head cat had a distinctly Siamese Oriental profile, indicative that the domestic breed that had been involved with the hybridization. During one of the numerous, always interesting and informative telephone conversations that I enjoy for many years with the internationally renowned felid geneticist Roy Robinson, he mentioned to me that after scrutinizing photographs and written descriptions of the Dufftown cat, his considered opinion as to its identity was that it was most probably merely a freak, tetralogical specimen of either a large feral domestic cat or a Kellis cat. The second of these two options put forward by Roy is also my personal opinion with regards to the likely identity of the rabbit-head cat. Although it became known to science only quite recently, the reality that the Kellis cat may not be of only quite recent origin, but at least not if we take note of two very intriguing items of information drawn from certain archaeological and folkloric sources. In addition, of course, to generations of local sightings of such animals. Firstly, as I originally learned back in the 1980s from the late Professor Charles Thomas, who was director of the University of Exeter Institute for Cornish Studies, of a leading archaeological specializing in prehistoric and protohistoric Britain. Evidence from early place names in northern Scotland indicate that one of the native animals incorporated into the region's tribal nomenclature of early Roman, post-Roman times may have been a fairly large black form of cat. Secondly, while researching Scottish mythology in relation to the Kellis cat during the mid-1980s, I discovered from the writings of Catherine Briggs and others that Highland folklore included a legendary cat called the Kate She, or fairy cat, a sizable creature sporting a black bristly pelage, white throat patch, and sparks or stars over its fur. According to traditional local accounts, if these sparks or stars refer to the gleaming white primary guard hairs, and one could hardly ask for a more apposite layman description of them, then the Kate She bears an almost exact resemblance to the Kellis cat. Consequently, if the latter felid form is only of quite recent origin, It is truly a most remarkable coincidence that the only region of Great Britain from which specimens or sightings of Kellis cats have emerged is also the same region of Great Britain that contains in its traditional folklore a creature bearing an uncanny similarity to the Kellis cat. Here's another one. There's the white patch. This one looks more brown on the underside, though, I think. They could have dusted it off for the picture. Good grief. No less surprising, however, is the existence of a felid that has, at least on first sight, seems to be an Eastern European counterpart to the Kellis cat. Yet, just such an animal was scientifically documented as long ago as 1904, as now revealed. During the early 1980s, I was surprised to uncover a scientific paper published in 1904 by the Proceedings of the Zoological Society of London concerning a black cat that appeared very reminiscent of Scotland's then unexplained feline enigma, the Kellis cat, but which inhabited Transcaucasia, also known as the South Caucasus, or South Caucasus. This is a geographical region near the southern Caucasus Mountains on the border of Eastern Europe and Western Asia, roughly corresponding to the area occupied by modern-day Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. I guess that's how you say that one. I'm not sure. Azerbaijan. Hope I'm not. If you're from there, tell me how to say it right, and I'll fix it. I wonder if he's using felid form to specify cryptids that look like they might be cats as opposed to ones that are actually taxonomically labeled as feliforms. Could be. You think he's trying to avoid using taxonomy ring? Pretty white patch she has on her tsunami. Within this paper, the cat had been formally described and named Felis daemon, I like that, by the eminent Russian zoologist Professor Konstantin A. Satunin, basing his description upon 2 mounted specimens, 3 skins, and 3 skulls, all housed in what is now the Russian Academy of Sciences headquarters and Moscow Archive and Library in St. Petersburg. Other scientists, however, did not share his view that the feliform warranted separate taxonomic status. In 1917, fellow Russian zoologist Dr. Nestor Smirnov referred to it as F. sylvestris caucasia abers daemon, treating it as a morph or aberrant form of the Caucasian wildcat. Conversely, another Russian zoologist, Dr. Sergei Ognev, relegated it even further to the level of mere feral domestic cat, even though he did concede that a melanistic morph may exist within the Caucasian wildcat population. Moreover, in 1951, with his major taxonomic review of small cats, catalog of the genus Felis, British felid taxonomist Reginald I. Pocock also classified F. daemon as a feral domestic cat, and it has remained thus ever since. Yet, is this truly accurate assessment of its status, and how, if at all, is F. daemon related to the Kellis cat? There's a vintage stuffed version of Felis daemon. Feral domestic or not, the Transcaucasian daemon or demon cat certainly displays some marked morphological similarities to Scotland's Kellis cat, as following descriptions of this contentious mainland European felid demonstrates. Based upon the museum specimens examined by Situnin, its length from nose to tail base ranged from 22 to 30 inches. Its tail length from 13 to 15 inches. Fur color varied from black with a slight reddish tinge to a reddish brown, slightly paler on the underpart, inner surface of the extremities, and distal undersurface of the tail. Viewed at certain angles, black transverse stripes were visible upon the flank of the body's forepart. More conspicuous or faded skin. Very long white hairs were scattered scantily over the body. Vibrissae and eyebrows were brown, claws white. With regards to the cranial features, Situnin noted that F. Damon differed from the wildcats both in the possession of somewhat narrow frontal regions and in the extension of the upper jawbone further back there than the nasal bone, which is reverse condition of that exhibited by the wildcats. Clearly, the dark pelage flecked with long white hairs exhibited by the Trans-Caucasian demon cat compares with that of the Kelis cat, especially with certain specimens of the latter fila form, that share its cryptic striping and even its brown eyebrows and vibrissae. But how closely do their relative body proportions compared? With the exception of one extra large skin, but which may well have been stretched during preparation, F. Demon specimens examined by Situnin do compare favorably in head and body length with the Scottish wildcat and Kelis cat specimens measured in detail. Conversely, the tail length recorded from F. Demon specimens are rather longer than those documented for Scottish wildcats and Kelis cats. Here's a sketch of one. Renowned Exmoor-based naturalist Trevor Beer did this one. It's a piece of art. It's kind of an otter nose in this picture. Weird. Have a good one, John. Thanks for hanging out. How much longer do we got on this? Oh, not much longer. There we go. Worth mentioning here is that an increased tail length is one condition proposed by wildcat expert Mike Tompkins and others as evidence for wildcat domestic cat hybridization within the Scottish Highlands. Possibly the Trans-Caucasian demon cat is simply first-generation melanistic hybrid as opposed to an introgressive hybrid resulting like the Kelis cat has apparently done for several generations of interbreeding and back crossing. It would be interesting to see what genetic analysis conducted upon DNA samples extracted from the preserved F. demon skins would uncover. Also, a potential relevance here is Felis obscura, aptly named inasmuch as the mysterious South African cat form has long since faded into zoological obscurity. Indeed, even its name was ultimately given by paleontologist Dr. Q.B. Hindi to an entirely different felid, a fossil specimen from South Africa's Miocene and Pliocene epoch. However, the original F. obscura has formally dubbed by French zoologist Anselme G. Desmarest in his renowned tomb Mammalogy description. I'm not going to try this. Mammiferis, 1820, was a living felid, almost uniformly black or exceedingly dark brown, with faint striping on its limbs, tails, flanks, and cheeks. The only image of F. obscura that I am currently aware of is the following depiction, consisting of a color plate from 1834. That's this one. So I don't know if it even really looks like it's anything but a wildcat, really. This dusky feline was first brought to popular attention by eminent French zoologist Baron Georges Cuvier. He briefly documented it in Volume 8 of his Dictionary of Science and Naturalism in 1817 and referred to it as Black Cat of the Cape. Nowadays, this F. obscura, as opposed to the wholly different fossil one, is synonymized with the African wildcat F. libica. Consequently, if any museum specimen of it exists, they presumably constitute melanistic African wildcats. And so, with the categorization, he said sorry and he spelled it silly, of Felis obscura, ostensibly resolved, it's time to bid a fond farewell to this dark-coated clouder of erstwhile mystery felines, duly disentangled and delineated. Yeah, it's got his dedications down here and stuff, but in a couple of his books. But there are a few sightings of Kellis cats that I wanted to go over real quick before we wrap this segment up. Hope you all are here for it. All right, we're going to watch this one. Let me know what you guys think here. Obviously, that's an owl up there, but... Now feeding its babies some rodents. Flies away. Here's our Kellis cat. The owl did not like that. It doesn't look as big as the description of a Kellis cat, though. Looks like a black domestic cat to me. There's the owl again. Ah! Coming right at us. If a cat has a demon inside of it, then its skin is stretched. I suppose so. I think that's it, though. I don't think it comes back. Will it come back, kitty kitty? No? And the morning comes. Yeah. Oh yeah, that looks like a domestic cat to me too, Tobin. Domestic cats, though, are probably the most efficient predator on the face of the earth. They're most prolific anyway. We've released any place that we let them go, they take over as like a dominant meso predator and wipe out all the little food. So that was that. What else do we have on this? Oh yeah, this guy. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get through on this, but this guy found one on as roadkill. He goes on about it, but because he's deeply Scottish, we're going to have the translations on to understand what the heck he's saying. And he's got really, really bad audio too. So.
side of the motorway here, where last week I found the carcass of what we believe is probably the first confirmed black leopard roadkill in the UK. Now, 30-40 years there's been talk about cats in Britain, many sightings. I've had sightings myself, once in the mid to late 90s when I was training.
So yeah, he's like walking down the side of a busy road. So I mean, but he's going to examine roadkill, so it makes sense. But it's just there's bad audio.
Before I joined the Royal Marines, I watched a big cat climbing the side of a hill face in the snow. I also seen another one with a mate of mine, and I know of a gamekeeper in the north of Scotland who, over a period of many years, watched one on a regular basis on a very, very remote estate in Scotland, the Northwest Highlands. So, while past...
Well, his accent coupled with the traffic, it's a little bit rough for me to follow. But
this area on the A9, last week we spotted something at the side of the road, and the Highways Agency were already there, doing their nosy around it. And I asked for the carcass and I offered them money, but they had laid claim to it because they knew what it was. They absolutely knew what it was. And,
I think that was carcass, not cactus. I don't think he asked for a cactus.
I've got a fur sample from it, thankfully.
Wrong island, Tobin. You better not let Robbie hear you say that. I'm not well, I guess he does. Probably he has some Scottish ancestry.
For anyone that wants to debate the DNA of it, and you know, it was an animal probably about, I would say it would maybe be about 35 or 40 pounds in weight. Its legs were as thick as the bottom of my wrist. Its fur was really kind of, you know, dense, thick, really protective fur. But its head had been obliterated by the vehicle that struck it, or subsequent vehicles. However, I've got a tape here, measured the area, exactly where it was, because there's a mark on the road, which is a patch in, and I know exactly where it was flying. And we moved it off the road with the highways guys, but they had already went.
You're right, just say the road noise is applause. They're really excited about him measuring the spot where this dead cat was.
We got a sack and stuff to put it on, and they had a flatbed. Now when I came back here the other day, that vehicle passed me and they were laughing, like, not laughing, but they were shouting, gave me a thumbs up. And I was like shouting, I said, pull over what he's done, mate. And they kept driving. I thought they were going to come back, but they never appeared back. So, I don't know what they've done with it, but they were on the big cat groups, and they did say that they were going to speak to certain people that they knew about this thing, and it wasn't the first one that had been discovered, not by them, but they knew another group of guys that had found one a few years ago, apparently up near Balliter. So you take a lot with a pinch of salt, but I'm working with facts today. I've seen it. I've got a witness who's seen it also. I handled it. Its head was obliterated, but proper, you know, good teeth, really, really broad head, short, stubby ears, quite a broad kind of flat head, thick neck, muscular animal, really, really strong.
He really is describing something that comes across as more pantherine than like a typical feline, though.
Muscular animal. And right across the road from where I seen it, you know, it goes straight onto probably 50 to 100 square miles of mountains and forestry. Pheasants everywhere, rabbits, hares, deer. And unfortunately it's been struck on the road. They're not big animals, leopards are not big animals. When you see melanistic leopards in captivity, they're actually really small. People say, I've seen an animal 6 foot long, you know, there's no such animal, they don't exist. Anyway, it wasn't a hybrid, it wasn't anything. I think it was a young one, to be honest with you.
What makes you think it wasn't a hybrid, though? Why wasn't it a hybrid? The Kellis cat's been basically determined to be a hybrid, so are you disagreeing with the DNA? Why?
It's hard to say, are they breeding? You just see the tractor there in the background, guys. That's the farmer just leaving. Nice guy, didn't want to go on camera, typical farmer, quite reserved, shy, introverted, whatever you want to call it, just didn't want the publicity. Said these things have been around here for decades. His father used to see them in these mountains up here. I'm not going to put the guy, you know, he's at the end of the day, he's a private guy, he's going about his business. He said he's not surprised in the slightest. The next farmer up has basically said to me that there was a brown one on this very land not so long ago that was seen every few months, then it would vanish for months, then it would appear back, then it would come back again. And he reckoned that they were out in the lamp one night and they had it within 100, 150 feet of them.
Hydrate.
Not meters, feet, you know, which is within the range of, you know, a 22 250. It's a small calibre. They were out doing foxes and they clearly seen where it was, and the boy lifted his rifle to it, and the guy that was lamping tapped the barrel and went, don't shoot it, don't shoot it. It's not, he said, just let it go, it's not right. So that could still be out there as well. And when you look at the mountains up there and the trees and the foliage on them, the coverage is phenomenal. And I'm a hill walker, you know, I'm in the mountains. These cats would be the size of a hair out there. It's like a needle in a haystack. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that there'll be debate and there'll be people saying, no, I'm not interested. I seen it. I seen the base 8 feet. I seen the size of its paws. I seen the pads on it.
I wish you would have got out.
Its legs. So
I wish you would have got out there and got some pictures of its paw, like compared to your hand and stuff when it was still laying there, friend.
Yeah, no debate for me. I always wished that I would get very accurate footage of one alive, really close up and stuff like that. But circumstances usually dictate the event. There are very few good video footage out and very few accurate photographs. For everybody nowadays that's got a great phone in their hand, some of the photographs leave a lot to debate. I
thought he said hill walker, but I'm not sure.
Be crystal clear in what I do. So he took one look at the images and said, I know exactly what it is. He said it was clearly a big cat. Anyway, yeah, the experts don't know everything about these big cats. I've still never seen anyone really talking about the big cat that lives on a certain MOD base in Scotland. It's been there for a long, long time. And it's apparently on its last legs.
Applause!
I.e. it's an old cat. They can live for 30 years, these things. So, anyway guys, I'm going to cross over. As I say, I use this measuring tape to gauge against my photographs and take some pretty accurate measurements, and I'm pretty sure that what I had was way, way bigger than any domesticated cat, but not overly big that it qualified into something that was apparently 5 foot long and the size of an Alsatian. Because that's not the size of these cats, they're not that size. So just spoke to this farmer here earlier, now he's back again. He said there's been a lot of sightings about this area for years. Described something, and when I showed him the photographs, he said that's exactly what has been getting seen. So I'm going to try and catch another wee chat with him and see what he says. Okay,
Another wheat chaplain. I don't know what that is. So here's the animal. Sorry, I guess I should have done trigger warning, but we've all seen roadkill, right? We've all seen a dead cat on the side of the road, unfortunately.
Cat at the side of the A9 here, it's absolutely huge, and it is built like a tank.
It's built like a tank.
Fucking hell, it's huge, man.
36. I have a hard time, because what they got marked off is 36 inches here. That's a huge cat.
Big, massive, broad head, big ears, and its bloody legs are as thick as my wrist. size of the heat on it, man.
Put your hand down there so I can see these paws.
Really big. Its legs are solid. It weighs a ton.
And that's it. Yeah, that's it. This was only a year ago, though, so it's been fairly recently. Lots of people in here chiming in that they've seen it in their area. They've seen these cats. But, yeah, that was our Kellis Cat segment of Cryptic Corner for you today. Had you heard of the Kellis Cat before? Was this a new creature for you to discover? What do you think? I do think it's just a land race of hybrid domestic cats and Scottish wild cats. So, yeah, I think that's probably right. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this segment of Cryptic Corner, and please remember to be kind. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, she's a witch.
So she's a witch.
I don't know about that.
You believe in witches, Jill?
That's where that comes from.
Bree, Jill
course,
did tell me
atheist.
earlier that he does believe, and I'm not no shade, but he does believe that Satan can, or evil demonic spirits can talk through animals earlier in the stream.
Oh hell yeah, Jill! Talk about that. Why are we wasting our time with this stupid?
Yes.
That point you'll be talking about talking animals. I want to hear more about that.
If she's
Jill.
single and
you got
she
time?
has 3 cats, they're probably demonic friends.
Ooh.
Ichabus, Sycabus, and probably Baal that she, communicates with at night. Cats are very
I
highly
have questions about the
Ask your
communicating with the cats, and were they all cats?
Cats are very susceptible to the demonic realm. Yes.
Okay, so
Breaking
are the
news.
cats when she communicates with the cats? Are the cats? And maybe you don't know, and tell me if you don't.
She's
it's
communicating
fine.
with demons. Cats
Are
don't
the
have
cats vocal cords? actually
Cats don't have
making
vocal
sound?
cords. She's communicating with demons.
Cats do have vocal cords.
Wait,
Sir.
Bree, not Bree. I'm sorry. Cat. Wait just 1 second, Bree.
Okay,
in the
cats
middle of
do
her
have vocal
conversation.
cords. We're gonna establish that right now. They do have cords, vocal cords that allow them to make verbal sounds. That's
Okay. So you mean vocal cords in that sense? Okay.
vocal cords in the sense of vocal cords that are a biological part of an animal's body. Yeah. So yes. Are the cats actually producing the sound with their vocal cords, or is there like some etheric voice vibrating the sound waves and penetrating her ears?
Penetrating her ear.
Or are the cats communicating with her? How does she communicate with her familiars? Are they communicating psychically? Like brain waves passing back and forth? Tell me about it, Joe.
Yeah,
We believe in
I'm curious. I'm with Bree on this.
Mind communication. I already answered this with you.
I know, but still,
I wasn't here, baby. Just tell me about it.
Yeah, we believe that just like Satan communicates, even though he doesn't have vocal cords either, not not human.
So
let me talk to Jill.
So
for a
we
minute.
go ahead.
Yeah, we don't believe that these are just vibrations on some string or chord.
Like not they're more. It's more than an audible vibration.
We
like a
believe that
spiritual
humans, the
vibration that you
distance
could
between
hear.
us and a meow is the distance of infinity. But you can call them vocal cords if you like.
Hebrew Israelite.
Just like you call fins on some creature hands. So you can call them whatever you like. Women, you can call them whatever you want to call them nowadays. So I understand it. But we believe that there was mind-to-mind communication. When the Bible says that the snake talked, we don't necessarily mean that the snake vocalized, the human language. But these are spiritual beings that are speaking through mind-to-mind communication.
Mind-to-mind. There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for to find. That's what I was asking about. So it's mind-to-mind communication. So we're talking about a psychic link. Fill in a little bit more about the familiar thing, and then I'll let you guys have at this conversation. I just want to understand, because the familiars are a lot different than the creatures, the snake, the serpent, and the Bible, and all that kind of stuff, because they're things that happened allegedly in historical records, right? There's
there's court cases where people talked about familiar cats and toads and things speaking with the devil's tongue to witches and whatnot. So, Jill, am I understanding that you think that this was like a real phenomena and not some sort of a mass hysteria?
Schizophrenia. It still is an issue today. That's why I would stay away from single women with cats.
Makes sense.
Especially if they're over 18.
So do you think that people today have familiar animals that they speak psychically to that guide them to do the work of the devil or the work of demons? And the evidence for this exists. Is it specifically in the Bible, or do you actually look into the old witch hunting doctrine and go off of what that stuff says as well?
Based on the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That demonstrates itself to be reliable, historical,
where are
evidential.
Okay, where are there animal familiars in the Bible? What verses are we looking at?
What are the animal? Say that again.
What are the animal familiars mentioned in the Bible?
What are the animal familiars
mentioned in the Bible?
I'm not sure what you mean by familiars.
The animal familiars for the witches that you're talking about, the witches that have animal familiars.
I was saying familiar spirits. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I don't think they're mentioned in the Bible. I think you're making that up or adding that in yourself.
No, I don't think. No, that's not a biblical.
It's extra biblical, right?
Teaching.
Good job, Jill.
No.
It's extra biblical.
Oh, this is hilarious.
The animals that were in Scripture that were said to be possessed by demons were pigs. That's the only example we really have.
And which witches were they familiars to?
0.
What do you mean?
So this whole conversation you've been talking about witches having cats as familiars, right? That's been the topic.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not saying that's a biblical teaching. I never said that.
Yeah, I know some women with familiar pussies. I'm sorry.
So,
just to clarify,
Christians have superstitions that aren't necessarily.
Hold on. You believe in magical talking cats outside of the Bible? You just believe in that as an extra?
Christians have superstitions also that aren't found in Scripture. Thank you.
Okay, just that's what I was wanting to clarify.
Also,
so you just believe in general magical stuff like that, huh? But
yeah, we believe in spirits, we believe in demons, but we don't necessarily have to see in Scripture familiar cat spirits to believe.
Disclaimer:
that spirits
not all
in.
Christians believe these things.